Hi, this is Cherie Currie from the Runaways, and you are listening to Dennis Gray and the Australian Rock Show.
Hey everyone, and welcome to episode number 56 of the Australian Rock Show. My name is Dennis Gray from the Rockin' and Rollin' Gray Brothers, and today is Friday, the 8th of April, 2016, when this show is being recorded. In May and June, the iconic and trailblazing Cherie Currie is touring Australia for the very first time. The Runaways, the influential all-girl outfit from the 1970s who Cherie fronted, have been a huge influence on my life in rock and roll. Last year, Cherie released her first album in many years, the rollicking Reverie, which kicks major ass. We recently got a hold of Cherie from her home in LA and covered a bunch of subject matter. The recent album, her upcoming tour down under, and of course, the mighty Runaways. It's an interview recorded last Monday, the 4th of April, by the way, which we will hear in a moment. But before we do, let's get warmed up with a tune from her 2015 album Reverie. Here is Cherie Currie with Queen of the Asphalt Jungle. Cherie, this is Dennis from the Australian Rock Show. How are you?
Hi, Dennis. I'm great. Thanks so much for doing this interview. I'm excited.
Okay, firstly, I must start by letting you know how excited many of us in Australia are right now, because finally in May and June, you're finally going to play your first shows here. Cannot wait. You must be excited to finally jet down under.
I'll tell you, it is a dream come true for me, because Australia is the one place I have wanted to go for over 40 years. And I never thought I was going to make it there. So to me, to meet you and all the wonderful people there, I couldn't be more excited and thrilled about it. I'm thrilled.
Well, I guess it is an exciting time for you after the movie and then the reissue of your book. You can tour new markets like Australia and New Zealand, I guess, to a whole new legion of importantly younger fans. So that's a positive thing, isn't it?
It really is. 40 years after the Runaways, and I enjoy meeting the people so much. You know, if it wasn't for the fans, we wouldn't be anything, you know? So it's great to give back and put a smile on people's faces and play the music that they want to hear. Well,
I have to congratulate you on your album of last year, Reverie. Some amazing songs on there. But might I add that as a long-time supporter of yours, it was satisfying to see The Thing released. One hell of an achievement, really. And I'm not going to get into this right now, but you may recall a couple of years back, I wrote an article on my blog titled When Will Kenny Laguna Release the New Cherie Currie Album, which I might add was one of the most popular articles I've ever written. And it tells me that there was enormous interest in that whole saga and indeed you releasing new material. So again, it's very pleasing that, the album eventually saw the light of day in 2015.
Well, that was not the record, though. No, the record that Kenny has had is actually coming out in September.
I didn't know that. Is that on Blackheart?
Yes, I believe it'll be on Blackheart. I just signed the agreement finally after all these years with them.
Wow.
The Reverie was actually an album I made with Kim Fowley and my son Jake Hayes.
And we started this show by playing my favourite track off the album, which was Queen of the Asphalt Jungle, written by yourself, Kim Fowley, and your son, Jake. So was that song penned for that album, or had you been keeping it for a while?
Oh, no. That song was penned for the record. Me and Jake and Kim sat down, and we just wrote these songs together in an afternoon. And 3 days later, after Jake and I kind of really got the music all worked out, we were in the studio with Kim. But Kim only lasted 4 days in the studio. He was so gravely ill. And then he turned the record over to Jake because he couldn't continue. He was, and then, of course, just a few months later, he was gone. Before the record was done, Kim passed away.
I find it kind of ironic that a man like Fowley, through good times and bad times, someone who had an enormous impact on your career, and as fate would have it, the final album he produced before he passed away was yours.
I know. I feel so blessed that it happened that way, because, a lot of demons that I'd been carrying around and a lot of anguish, with Kim and with Lita Ford as well. I was able to fix all of that and have great memories, with these two people that meant a lot to me as a young girl, and be able to, it's kind of like, changing your destiny in a way, because I don't know how I would have been able to handle him passing away and me living with, the anger that I'd had for so many decades towards him. It really hurt me. It wasn't hurting him at all. But to be able to spend, when he moved into my home a couple weeks, he lived here before he died, and we were able to just have a great time. It was all a bunch of fun and laughs and recording and enjoying each other's company, and that's really the way it should be,
It's wonderful, and I guess not many people get to do that. And in particular, you mentioned Lita Ford, and I guess younger fans don't really realise this, but and of course it's so great that you and Lita are recording and gigging again, because in the 80s and 90s, both your musical paths never really crossed, did they? So it must be magical to reconnect and bond with Lita Ford again.
Well, it was, because I literally had nightmares about Lita up until just a few years back. I mean, when she reached out to me to do a duet with her, a Christmas single called "Rock This Christmas Down," and I flew in from the road and went directly to the studio from the airport and worked with her on this song. And she called me when I was driving home, and she was in tears and I was in tears listening to this CD, because I think it was a great relief for both of us, because Lita had felt, she had been hearing that I left the band because of her, which was very true, but she was the last nail in the coffin for me. But I think it was a great relief for both of us to be past that, because there's nothing worse than regret. To carry regret with you all your life, that's no way to live.
Sure. Well, actually,
we had some great time since.
Well, that's wonderful. I just want to talk about a couple of the tracks on the album. One of the tracks, Believe, goes back to, I believe, your mid to late 90s period, because I recall you playing that on that 1998 Golden Apple in-store video. And there are two songs on that Golden Apple gig. One's called Moonshine Lullaby, and the other one's called Don't Believe in Heaven. Was there ever any talk of including them on Reverie? Because I think they both stand up very, very well.
Well, thank you. I definitely wanted to do Don't, but in some way, somehow, it didn't quite work out. But Moonshine Lullaby, believe it or not, my live album is going to be available in Australia when I'm there. And Jake and I just recorded it, but we did it as a live studio, one pass. Jake was playing guitar and I sang the song, and it's just guitar and bass, a little bit of keyboards, and one pass through. We just threw some background vocals on it, and it really turned out great. So that's going to be available as a bonus track on my live album, from London album.
Nice. And I know
I would like to do I Don't Believe in Heaven again, because I love that song.
You should. Both those songs are a standout. And I know that you played Japan back in 2000 because I was living and working there at that time. Have you toured there since then?
No, I have not. No. Hopefully one day again. I'd certainly love to do that.
Do you ever sit down and reflect on the incredible, Beatle-like mania which you experienced with the Runaways and that Japanese tour? I mean, nothing could have ever prepared you for that kind of fan madness, could it?
No. It was absolutely a shock for all of us when we walked off that plane. We couldn't believe it because we had never experienced anything like it. I mean, we were drawing huge crowds in Europe and all. Nothing prepared us for Japan. And I think that was the moment where we realized all that hard work and those countless months on the road and the loneliness and being away from our families, that we had made a difference. And but that was our life.
Do you think, especially after the major film release, that the Runaways have finally become, I don't know about universally accepted, at the very least acknowledged for the great music the band made?
Definitely. And I remember 20 years ago, I couldn't even listen to our music, or did I even know that there were videos online, And Lita had reached out to Sandy West and myself to get Joan to do a reunion, and this was a little over 20 years ago, and we convinced Joan to do it. And then Lita backed out after we had the record deal and the tour, everything was set, and then Lita just said, I can't do this. And it was so funny because she was the one that had originally brought us all together. Wow. But it was at that time that I started to listen to the Runaways music again, and I started watching videos, and I was so shocked with really how magical the five of us were together. We really were unique. And but I had thought that we had all but been forgotten, to be honest with you. Truly.
Well, I guess many of us kept on, kept on flying the flag. And you mentioned Sandy West there, and I think one thing which doesn't get acknowledged enough when critics look over the Runaways is the thunderous drum sound of Sandy West. I mean, she monstered those drums, and personally, I can't think of a female drummer before her who hit those drums as hard as her. There was a girl called Liva Favela from Bertha, but she was not a Bonham type hitter. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, and you know what? I don't think there's ever been anybody like Sandy since. Sandy was so unique with the way she was on that stage. She was a presence. She was a force that, trust me, I've watched a lot of girl drummers, and there are some technically great drummers, and there are some hard-rocking, fantastic drummers. But Sandy had something very special. She seemed to bring the rear of that stage right to the front. She was a force to be reckoned with, and she had so much love in her heart. You know, she was a fantastic human being. I miss her so much, and I'm so blessed that I never did a show without her after I left the Runaways, up until her death.
Every guest on our show, I'm going to put you on the spot here, every guest on our show gets to choose a song by an Australian artist, something which is significant to them. Off the top of your head, can we close out with a song of your choice from some great Australian rock and roll? Now, I know that Mitch Perry, for a time, was in heaven, killer Australian band. You could have taken the prize by naming that.
Oh, my goodness. Well, you know what? The Veronicas, I'm a huge fan of the Veronicas, too.
Oh, really?
But Mitch Perry, you know what? You pick it, because I think I've been doing interviews for about 4 hours straight, so I'm kind of I can't think too clearly about the song, but you go ahead and pick one that you think Mitch Perry would be good.
Well, you know, I'm going to change tack. I'm going to close out with the Streetwalking Cheaters doing Cherry Bomb. How's that?
Oh, that sounds great.
Fantastic. It's so great to have you finally tour here, and I hope all the shows do very, very well.
Well, Dennis, I certainly hope I get to meet you when I'm there. Thank you so much for everything you've done for the last 40 years with me. I really appreciate you keeping the Runaways
You're welcome.
alive.
Thank you. I appreciate you saying that. I look forward to catching up with you when you're in Australia.
Great. Thanks, Dennis.
Man, how good does that sound from 1998? That was the Streetwalking Cheaters, of course, featuring Cherie Currie there on vocals with Cherry Bomb. Next month, Cherie Currie jets down under for her very first tour of Australia and New Zealand. Do not miss your opportunity to see a true rock and roll icon. So please make a note of these dates. Friday the 20th of May at the King's Arms in Auckland in New Zealand. Saturday the 21st of May at Bediga in Wellington. Sunday the 22nd of May, Cherie is on at Churchill's in Christchurch. Thursday the 26th of May, she is on at the Trifford in Brisbane. Friday the 27th of May, Cherie hits Sydney playing the Manning Bar at Camperdown. Saturday the 28th of May, she is on at the Corner Hotel in Melbourne. Tuesday the 31st of May, Cherie is on at the Gov in Adelaide. Wednesday 1st of June, Cherie is on at the Rosemount Hotel in Perth. Final date of the tour. Get your tickets online from oztix.com.au. You could also visit cherriecurrie.com. But once again, this is a tour you do not want to miss. As you may have guessed from my interview with Cherie, her career and indeed the Runaways have, for the past 3.5 decades or so, been a major part of my rock and roll life. Over the years, I have written articles and reviewed releases from Cherie and the Runaways. That also includes Joan Jett and Lita Ford. And it was an honour to have her on the show today, and I do hope you all enjoyed it. Okay, let's get out of here. AustralianRockShow@gmail.com. You can follow us on Twitter @OzRockShow. We can be found on Facebook where we post new show links. Please share the shows to your timelines, which helps to spread the word about our show. Be sure to visit our website at AustralianRockShow.com. All the past episodes are there free for you to download and enjoy. You can hear the Australian Rock Show, Ozrock's loudest and proudest rock and roll podcast, via iTunes, Stitcher, and also TuneIn. Visit our website, have a look around, buy a t-shirt and help support us. Let's close out with another recent release from Cherie Currie. And you know the drill by now. If you're listening in whilst driving, turn the volume up and roll the window down so you can educate others. Lifted from her 2015 album Reverie, also featuring the great Lita Ford, here is Cherie Currie with a reworking of the Runaways 1976 track American Nights. This is Dennis, out.